Gordon was cross. Instead of nice shining coaches, he was pulling a dirty freight train. A freight train, a freight train, a freight train, he grumbled.
Getting started with the tour of this set, we are going to go over the two characters that I've included, starting off with Gordon, and then we have Edward, and these two characters are also going to be the main characters of the overall story. Edward helps out.
You're not trying. I can't do it, said Gordon. The noisy freight cars hold an engine back so.
Now it is time to talk about the rolling stock I've included, starting off with Gordon's goods train. We have the Tidmouth milk tanker, the classic gray troublesome truck, and then the original troublesome brake van. And then for Edward, I included the two express coaches. Now in the episode, Edward is seen pulling branch line coaches.
Edward worked hard all day. The coaches thought he was very kind, and the driver was very pleased.
Wooden Railway does not have any branch line coaches released, and so I thought the normal express coaches would work just fine for this set. Now that we've covered the engines and rolling stock, I'm going to go over the other miscellaneous items in this set. Starting off with the scenery items, here we have some trees over here, and then another tree in the corner over there. So we have 3 trees in this set. And then I also included one of the buildings of the 3 buildings. This can double as a building in the yard or a small station that Edward can stop at as he is pulling his coaches. And then here are 2 figures. These can represent driver and fireman or workmen or any person necessary to retell this story. And then on the back side of the set here, I also included the single stone tunnel. Now this tunnel really isn't related to the story Edward helps out, but because the mountain tunnel and the single stone tunnel have already been included in a Thomas Wooden Railway set together before, I thought why not do it again here. Now it is time to recreate the story Edward helps out using this set. Starting out at Tidmouth Sheds here, which I've used 2 special engine sheds to recreate, we get the opening shots of the episode.
The driver won't choose you again, said Gordon. He wants strong engines like us. But the driver and fireman felt sorry for Edward.
The driver and fireman can decide to take Edward out for the day, leaving the other engines cross at being left behind.
The other engines were very cross at being left behind.
And then Edward can come along and collect his coaches, have a stop at the station, and then we can get the shots of Edward puffing through the countryside with his coaches. And then we can have Edward return home, excited to go out again tomorrow.
I'm going out again tomorrow, Edward told the other engines that night. What do you think of that?
The very next morning, nothing has changed, and Gordon is still boasting.
You watch me, little Edward, as I rush through with the express. That will be a splendid sight for you.
And then we come to the fun shots of Edward shunting trucks over at Tidmouth Sheds, and this is where this siding can come into play. It can store the trucks for Edward to shunt, or it can store the coaches, which I have at the other end of the set over there.
He liked shunting. It was fun playing with freight cars. He would come up quietly and give them a push.
Edward finally stops to have a rest, and then this is the scene where Gordon puffs by with his dirty freight train.
A freight train, a freight train, a freight train, he grumbled.
And then, I don't know about you guys, but this scene as a kid was always one of my favorites, and it's the one where Edward is requested to go and help Gordon, who is stuck on the hill, and then we get the nice shot of him puffing out of the yard over the switches.
Gordon can't get up the hill, the porter called to Edward's driver. Will you take Edward and push him, please?
And this is where the glorious mountain tunnel comes into play. So this is the first time that I've included the mountain tunnel in any of my custom story sets, and I am very glad that I have waited to include it properly in a set. So here is Gordon's Hill. As you can see, I have used all of the lines of the mountain tunnel, so this set is essentially a more complicated figure 8 using the mountain tunnel. But here is the scene where Gordon is stuck on the hill and his driver and firemen are talking to him severely.
Edward's driver came up. We've come to push. No use at all, said Gordon. You wait and see, replied Edward's driver.
And this is also an interesting scene. So here we have Gordon stuck on the big hill with his freight train, but I honestly don't think it's the trucks that are preventing him from getting up the hill. I feel like it's just Gordon pouting because he's not able to pull his express after all the boasting he did earlier in the story to Edward.
Next morning, Edward woke up to find nothing had changed. Gordon was still boasting.
Another one of my favorite scenes, Edward and Gordon grumbling as they try to get the train over the hill.
I can't do it! I can't do it! I can't do it! Puffed Gordon. I will do it! I will do it! I will do it! Puffed Edward.
And as we know in the story, Gordon does get to the top of the hill, with Edward's help of course, but leaves him far behind.
Edward was left out of breath and far behind, but he was happy because he had been so helpful.
As Gordon's train races through Marin Station, we do get the final shots of the episode with Edward in a siding, out of breath but triumphant.
I'll get out my paint tomorrow and give you a beautiful coat of blue with red stripes. Then you'll be the smartest engine in the shed.
And so everyone, we have come to the end of our story. I want to know what you guys think about this set in the comment section below. I feel like this one is a unique one for sure because we finally got to use the mountain tunnel. It's very fun to incorporate into a set. It has a lot of good scenery. As you can see, it works really well for any Sodor countryside set, but it's kind of tough to incorporate into a set just because of the connections that go through the tunnel and then the hill itself kind of stretch the tracks, and it's kind of tough to get them to line up nicely for a smaller size set. But I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you. Oh no. It seems as though an engine over here has had another accident. Gordon has almost come off the line, and it seems as though he has pushed these two poor troublesome trucks over the bridge. Hopefully they get that sorted out quickly. The Fat Controller will not be happy about that.
But Sir Topham Hatt was most annoyed.
Anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.